So shalom, shalom. So I'm just gonna real quick. I'm gonna just do a shofar blast because I feel like I like to call upon Yah. I want Yah's ear to be bent to hear and correct me along the way, and send His Ruach, His word, His spirit to lead and guide me. I don't want to be caught up in my own flesh because that can happen so easily, especially when you get to preaching. So I just gotta pray that we be led in His name YaHUaH, and MaShYKh, YaHUaHUShI. The name doesn't change. That's the great thing about it, is He came in His Father's name. So the names need to be the same, right? And then what people have done is they've worked from the bottom to the top when it comes to the name, right? They said, okay, well, we're going to work back from Jesus. And I did that in my first journey. But then as a grown up and not a baby, I put away childish things, and I said, oh, I understand the Father works from the top down. So let me work this thing back down from the top. Understanding, and you go through, Eloah, Elohim, you go through that study, and then understand those are titles, more titles and entities and attributes. But the name itself is different. And that's where you get a Yah, which still has Yah in it. I'm Yah. And then you have where it's YaHUaH, which means self-existent, creator. It's just self-exist, right? Which no other, you would say, entity, power that's there has ever, put that forth, right? That they're self-exist. They're self-existing. And that's what YaHUaH is, self-existing. And that Yah for short when we use it. And that's how we get Yah and now YaHU in all the names of the prophets and different people. And then with attributes of Yah, you would use the El or the Eli, right, in their names. Because it was presumed, right, when you had the name Eliyahu, like Eliyahu, that it was referring to, it's saying my deity is YaHUaH, right? That one is kind of, it's both. Or you would have who else? Yasharel. Just in that sense, the El on the end, it's an attribute towards El and its power, but it's referring to who? Yah. Yah reveals something crazy about that. How YaHUaH got the name when he got Yasharel, because what happened is he took that name from that angel. The angel, because every land and every place has an angel. He said, why are you asking my name? He didn't want to give his name. He had to give up his name because YaHUaH kept him and won, right? They didn't want to give up his name. And that's why he said, okay, there's always a giving and a take. To get that name, what do you have to do? He gave up the hollow of his thigh. He was limping after that. He gave up the hollow of his thigh to get the name Yasharel. You are not going to go through this life in the flesh unscathed. Nah, man. It doesn't work that way. I mean, we follow the Mashiach, right? The crucified way. And they think that we're not going to suffer. He says, we're supposed to die daily in this flesh. In this flesh is not supposed to be the priority. But praise YaHUaH. Let me go ahead and do this this trumpet real quick so we can hear the shofar. We want to call upon YaHUaH in that He bends an eye and an ear to us and gives us understanding and guidance and light, because we're not trying to call upon any other man. We're not trying to call upon, put any other person in this spotlight, because we're nobody. Shouldn't be trying to be somebody, and just but of the one body. And that's what we all should be living by. Shalom, shalom, Shabbat shalom. Yup. It's the 8th day. It is a Shabbat shalom. It's the month 8, day 8. It's day 7 of week 1 of month 8, which is day 8 of the month. So you have the month days, right, which is day 8 of the month. And then you have the weekdays of that month, which you have only 7 days in a week ever. So you have, this is day 7, which is what? Well, you know what day 7 of a week is. It's Shabbat. And this is based on YaHUaH's lights, not man's calculations, because You lean into man's understanding. You lean into somebody's calculations. That's why you have to observe to do. Yahuwah says observe to do. That's why Abraham was called. That's why Abraham was so powerful and strong as he came out. He crossed over. He was the Hebrew Ibar. It means more than just Eber or Iber. The concept of the name, the word, the meaning behind Ibar. When you go look it up, it needs, because it means more than just Hebrew. Or Iberith is really where they get the Hebrew, specifically how they say that in the language. But in let me get to it. Ayin Fa, right? The language, it's a little bit different. So here we're gonna go to Strong's number, and I'm gonna be speaking on Hebrew more. I'm gonna be speaking on the language and whatnot. 5674 in the Strongs, right? And we use that because it's easily accessible, right? Everybody has that, Bible tools, whatnot. That's just a seed, man. Don't count anything you get absolute. So with it said, Ibar, what does it mean? So it's actually 5674 through 5677. All those are spelled the same. They try to divide it up, but they really mean the same thing. It means more so than anything, in over 170 times. Check this out. Passover. Or crossover. Go look it up. Or pass. Through. Pass by. Go. Put. Pass. Away. Pass on. Alienate. Right? Alter. All, beyond, bring over, through, carry over, come on over, conduct over, convey over, delivery, enter, escape, fail, gender, get over, lay, meddle, overrun, make partition, cause to, proclaim, perish, provoke to anger, rage, raiser of taxes, remove, send over, set apart. Set apart. It's crazy. Go look up this word, Ibar. Look, well, we see all these, we know set apart is Kadush, right? The set apart spirit. What? Passover, right? Fasak, the Passover lamb. Because Ibar, he was the Hebrew, right? It means sweet, speedily, cause to make sound, smelling, make to transgress or transgressor, translate. A wayfaring man, be wrath. There's always this, when Hebrew, you're always going to have the good side and the bad side of the meanings. Because that's just how, remember, when they ate, there's the good and the bad. You got the good and the evil. It's what we chose. So you have to deal with that and understand. You have to be able to rightly divide the word of truth. Why do you have to divide it? Because there's a good and the bad side of it. That's what Mashiach did. He took the cursed side of the law, ceremonial bondage of the law, and he made it internal for every man. And then what he did, you know what I'm saying? And he took on that. So we don't have, he allowed us to pass over, right? So we're not in bondage to the cursed side of the law. He split them at Mount Ebal and Gerizim, right? The blessing side and the cursing side. You either choose the blessing side by choosing Yahuwah and Mashiach and being born again and passing over, being Ibar. I'm trying to show you that you need to be Ibar. Crossed over, passed over. And we'll get on. But Ibar, this is really what it comes down to when somebody's talking about their Hebrew, or Ibar, right? Beyond, side. Look. Beyond, straight, passage, by, from, other, against, over, quarter, Heber and Heber, right? And no, it's Ibarah. Ibari. If you go to Ibari, 5680, right? That's from Ibar. It means Hebrew, Hebrew woman, Hebrew, Hebrewess, Hebrew man, Ibari, right? Of Ibar, you're one that has crossed over. That's how you can claim that you're Hebrew. You can't. You're not. What you're seeing is that there's various attributes to being tied to the Mashiach of Abraham, right? Father of many nations, or father of heights. He grew, right? And then you have to have that. We're taking on these promises he's shown us. Yesharal, right? You're taking on that uprightness and that power, which Yashar means to be upright. And in that power of the El, Yasharel. And then you're taking on, you know, that you're taking on these various attributes. Names have natures, and that's what you take on when you're believing and calling yourself and labeling yourself. You know, so knowing what's behind, not just having titles, and because everybody's got we're in the age of labelism. Everything's about labels and packages and presentations. And then you got the Iberim, Ivory, Iberon. You know what I'm saying? You got the Iberah, which means a ferry boat, a crossing place, right? Because it means to come on over. And guess when that was happening? Now let's tie this crossing over to Scripture and tie it to real life, right? Let's look at the tabernacle. When they and we know that the tabernacle in the courtyard, the holy place, and the holiest of holies, right? We know that that's ties to Egypt, the wilderness, and Canaan's land, right? So then, but we know that there's these two crossing overs to enter into the holy place and into the holiest of holies. We know we had the Red Sea and then the Yarden River, or you know, the Yam Suf, right? And you had the Yarden, Naharim. That's how you say the river, Nahar. And so you have these two crossings that had to happen. And there's a separation. And guess what? What was the separation? The separation was a picture of water, right? They had to cross through the Red Sea. They had to cross through the Yarden. And Yah, both times, he froze the waters and held them up, staged them. That's Yah uses his own things. Of course, how else did he stop the waters? Right there with nothing. He froze it. Stay. Used ice, his cold breath. And so what happened is when they crossed over, right, they used water. There was, in the tabernacle, it was 10 curtains, 10 layered thick. Why was the purpose of that? Is that the reason was that you should not and could not let any outside light enter in to that next phase. You're supposed to leave Egypt in Egypt, right? You're supposed to enter into the holy place, what? Clean, purified. If you enter in with doubt and fear into the holy place, you're going to get slaughtered, so to speak, spiritually. You're going to get ran out. And that's why most people stay in the courtyard. It's because you got to deal and have a solid foundation to be able to come in. That was the whole point, is to get clean. Because you can't bring that outside light in. Now, they had to bring the fire. That's a different level. They had to bring the coals of the fire and had a pan off that. Think about it. They had to go through 10 layers thick of curtains. And the curtains had cherubim on them. They had the cherubims on them. That's the only thing y'all allowed them to do is, and then, you know, saying, you know, everybody want to idol worship and get idolatry, and that's where you had all that. But Shabbat Shalom to anybody that's with us and joining us. Shalom to you guys. So we're going to get into Revelations 14:14. Let me check over here. All right. Good. I had technical difficulties yesterday, so we were having issues with streaming, so it wasn't the time. Y'all was like, no. So it's Shabbat, though, and we're going to go over all this right now. And so we're going to talking about Revelations 14:14 if you want to jump over there. We're going to read through 14 all the way through 20 and then come back and just hit 14. Y'all ready? Let's go. Thank you guys for the likes. 2 brothers in here. Shalom, shalom. All right, here we go. Revelations 14, or Chazun, which means vision or a dream, is what Daniel and them had. So Chazun 14:14. And I looked, and behold, a white cloud. So this is YaHUaHUShI speaking. And I Yahuchanan looked, and behold, a white cloud. And upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having on his head a crown, golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, Thrust in your sickle, and reap, for the time is come for you to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. Verse 16. And Yahusha that sat on the white cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. The Mashiach reaped the earth. And another angel came out of the temple, which is in heaven. So there's a temple in heaven. Why would I want to not understand what the temple is? The whole revelation is about the temple. If you don't understand the tabernacle, you can't understand the temple. That's the reason why I teach the tabernacle. Not to idolize it, nothing, but it's a picture of the Son, which is the way, the truth, and the fire. No man can come unto the Father but by me. So you can't even get to the Father, to the temple, if you don't go through the tabernacle. So that's why we gotta say, because he is the temple of the tabernacle, and Mashiach is the tabernacle of the temple, right? His Father. The Father. There's a clear separation always of the Father and the Son. Clear. I mean, you can't even. I mean, somebody probably has a number, but go count. Somebody can count. I've read many, many times without putting a number on it. The separation. So how can you deny it? Yet they're one. How can you deny that? And then you can bring in 3, then you bring in 7, then you bring in 12. Like I said, don't get caught up in numbers. Don't get caught up in numerologies. It's just another scientology, a scientism. So it says here, in verse 17, Chazun 14:17 says, and another Malek came out of the temple, right, which is in Shemim. He also having a sharp sickle. Now, I'll say this, is that I've done studies from like 100 years back on some of the scholars that were studying this, even with like various, Lawrence and Charles and, and B.R. Hicks and R.H. Charles, James Strong's, Clarence Lawrence, all those early church guys that were in the early late 1800s, early 1900s, and then B.R. Hicks, which is a woman, which was in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, all the way through the turn of the century till late recently, but which I've learned a lot from. And what's happening here is there's viewpoints to say that this was like a duplication. He was like reduplicating it when it was being said. And I'm like, well, that's your opinion. And I appreciate your opinion. Shalom, shalom, Manuel. Shalom, Achi. So he says, but I believe his scripture is what it is. Shalom. Maybe, for real. Praise YaHUaH. It says, and another angel came out of the temple, which is in Shemim. He also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar, which had power over fire. So this is an angel that had power over fire. I'm not sure if you guys go and look, but there's another one where it talks about the angel over the waters, and it was actually disputing with Yah. Like, what are you doing? And then you understand who the waters, that Tehum was the waters, the deep that was over. So it was. I write about it in my book in chapter 9, but it's how darkness was on the face of the earth, the deep. Not the earth, on the face of the deep, which was the Tehum. The Tehum was the deep that had the earth submerged. And then when then you had then what he did is he broke up the waters, right? With the fire from the earth. The fire was there. Fire is always down there. Fire is under the earth. That's where they say there's a core, but we sit on fire. They don't know how big the earth is. So earth is Yahuwah's and the fullness thereof. So how are you going to put a measure on it? Where's the habitable earth? Okay, I give him that. There's the habitable earth, But then there's more than that. We just want to try to act like, see, that's the thing is, I don't know everything, and I'm not going to know everything. I'm not going to have this figured out. I'm never going to have this all figured out where I'm like, oh, I get it. Because then I would think I was Yah, and then I would think I would need Yah, and then I would think that I would be in this place of Yah, which is what happened to the deities in the beginning when Yah gave them when he gave them and established them as their attributes. And then they thought, well, I have this attribute. What I need, I have it figured out. I don't need you, because the freedom that was given to the attributes and the powers to the Elohim that YaHUaH, YaHUaH Elohi Elohim. He is the deity of deities, right? Because he created them. He's the power of all powers. When you look at the El, that's why the English is really dilutes it down where you can give it true power in the Hebrew. Now, you don't want to worship the Hebrew, right? And I get that. People have all these movements and whatnot. I'm just saying, edify yourself. Edify yourself. And then what happens is the adversary has fed us a diluted, deceptive, a mirrored version of Hebrew. And then we have to go back and figure it all out. And the sounds, I mean, come on. How you going to tell me a Hebrew letter has the same sound as another Hebrew letter? That's confusion of Babylon, right? Not each letter has a sound. The Aleph has the A sound. What is it? The Ayin has an I sound. That's why it's called the I. It literally is the I, the fountain. The Ayin, right? It's, oh no, it doesn't have a sound. And then they try to insert the B in there. No, but they give it to the B, the Bet, the Bith, and they give it to the U. Which one does it belong to? That's what I'm saying. It's the confusion. It doesn't belong to either. If any, it would belong to the U only, never the Bith. The Bith is A B. It's not A V. And that's, man, I'm sad. I'm sorry, but to use the V, you can battle it all day and whatnot. It's a degenerated version and pronunciation of how to say the U. U-O-W-V. V is like the last one. So I would say the U, in the sense of the U, it should be called the U. I don't call it the U, because then you have the Y in there, right? It's so confusing. I write about it in my book. I have a whole transliteration system that I created and I teach. Copyrighted. Thank you, Yah. But it makes Hebrew, because then you can tie all the Hebrew back into unison, and it stops. It's because what they did is they separated it and try to add all these little vowels and these things. Hebrew doesn't need any additional vowels to pronunciate it. Yah has already provided everything that we need with the Hebrew letters themselves to pronunciate themselves, and with its so-called vowels, which would be the Aleph, the U, the Ayin, right? The E with the Yet, right? And the Ah with the Ha. So those will be your only only vowels per se, to give it the Ha sound. But you always have the Ah. If it's on the end of a word with Ah, that's a Ha. They call it a Hey. Again, they try to mislead you and misdirect you on the sounds of these letters. It's so confusing with the way, but that's what we live in. We live in a world where either you have the spirit, the Ruach of Yahuwah, the spirit of truth that's going to lead and guide you and drive you to find out what's the truth, or not. I'm just saying. That's why I'm trying to compare myself to no other man. Because you know what? Then I'm giving a false perception of of how high or low I might think I am. I compare myself to Mashiach and see that I fail, direly fail, and that I thank him for being, my redemption, my redeemer, Mashiach Yahusha, and I plead the blood daily for pride, for traveling in traffic, maybe with a little bit of too much zeal sometimes. Hey, I gotta keep it real, That's like crazy. So, but let's relate traveling in traffic with people that are driving, right? Some people hear what I'm saying when talking about traveling versus driving. But what happens is here, because you're traveling and they're driving, people want to control you based on what they believe and what they think. So just like, because traveling on the highways or in the city or whatever, that is like your journey as a believer. You have people that are always going to want to try to slow you down, get in your way, don't want to let you go, and they make it their mission. You're just trying to get where you're trying to get, right? But somebody made it their mission that, like, no, this guy is not going anywhere. I mean, if he tries to get over, I'm getting over. You know, it's like, who are you? Where'd you come from? It's the adversary. People are influenced, evil influence. You know what? As much zeal as I have, I'll be like, go ahead. Hey, I mean, go, I got you, bro. I know it's communication, right? But then I'm gonna go and do my thing. You know, if we're in traffic and there's slowing down, why am I gonna let somebody? Like, how's that gonna hurt me? Letting one car, you know, people fight for like a foot of traffic, right? What are you doing? Like, let them go. That's gonna make the big difference in people's lives. There, you know, it's not hurting you. It's not detrimental. One car, especially. I'm just saying, it's like that's what your journey and going on for Yah is, being on traveling. Remember, this is a race. Remember, this is either on the wide road, many travelers, or you're on the straight and narrow. So let's finish this out. So we're on Chazun 14:17, and we're talking about this other angel, right, that came out from the altar. Well, this first of all says, and another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven. He also having a sharp sickle, because the Mashiach had his sharp sickle. He was sitting on a white cloud, right? This angel came out. This angel wasn't sitting on a white cloud. There's a big difference here, right? It says, and another angel came out of the temple, which is heaven. He also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar. What altar is this? Having power over fire, crying with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, thrust in your sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. And the Melech thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of YaHUaH. And the winepress was trodden without the city, and blood came out of the winepress, even unto the horse's bridle, by the space of 1,600 furlongs. The winepress of YaHUaH. Do you want to? Are you going to be reaped by the angel, or are you going to be reaped by YaHUaH, by the Mashiach Yahusha coming on a cloud? There's going to see. We're going to get into it. We're going to talk about so-called rapture. We're going to talk about being caught away. How much time we got? We got a little time. We got a little time. All right. I just got to get in, otherwise we won't get there. So what we do need to go back to is Revelation, is 14:14, and look at how. Let's see if we can see this. You guys can see it, hopefully. Right. To see how the Mashiach, when he came, he was it was a white cloud. That's what we have, right? We have this white cloud, and that's what we're going to talk about, because a lot of people want to come and claim that the Mashiach and they're coming back and it's me. What? You ain't on a white cloud, right? It has to be a white cloud. So with that said, what was happening here in Revelation 14:13? He was seated on the white cloud, right? Sitting down on a throne, on his authority. For sure, Emmanuel. He was like unto the Son of Man. He wore a crown on his head. Authority. His authority is given by the Father. It's still given by, he hasn't, like, it's not his, so to speak, yet. Once he goes through because guess who? You know who's trodden in the winepress, right? The Mashiach. How you think he got the blood? How you think he got blood on his vesture? The Mashiach's the one that's trodden this. He's the one with judgment. He's coming to redeem and to judge. But we want to not accept the judge, you know? And he had a sharp sickle in his hand. See, there's other teachings that teach that these are two different reapings of evil people. I mean, could be. Let's explore another thought, right? Because I try to tell you, man, this book, there's so many moving parts and revelations going on, and it's not just one thing happening. There's various connections. It's a lot. It's a lot of light going on, if that makes sense. There's a lot of connections going on. It's revealing a lot of things. It's the culmination of all the other books coming here. Just like the so-called New Testament, even the Gospels, those are just a lot of those are repetition words of the prophets of what they said. It had to be because it was the fulfillment of the Mashiach coming of the prophecies. That's what those are about. So they're all constantly repeating and speaking, and Mashiach's constantly speaking the Tanakh, so to speak, right? The Ketubim, the writings, the prophets, the Nabiye, the Malakim, the Dabarim Yomim, the words of the day, which they call chronicles. All that. The Torah, which is 7 books, not just 5. That's what they do. They want you to stop at 5 because they don't want you to cross over the Jordan and get the promise and move, because we got to move into judgment. We got to be judged. We got to be judges and judged. We got to be judged and then judges. You got to be righteous, though. So this is a journey. Always relate everything on your journey to the Egypt, wilderness, the Canaan's land journey. Always relate everything to the tabernacle and the temple, the courtyard, the holy place, and the holiest of holies. Then when you read scripture, you can see where you're at, especially when you're in Revelations, right? So the wine press and then that wrath is filled up in what? Once it's pressed, right, it's filled up in the 7 vials, the vials or jars. Right? All right, so here, let's look at this. Let's look at this different feature here when it comes to him being seated on the cloud. You know, in him setting, to me, it shows that he's seated on his crown. He's in full calmness. He's in full shalom. The king Malak Shalom. You know what I'm saying? He was Malak Zadok of Shalom, right? He was the king of peace. Don't forget that part. Melchizedek was who? The Malak of Shalom. Shalom, peace. And that's the mystery, right? Malak Zadok, Melchizedek. Everybody's got their theories on it. I mean, they got crazy schools of thoughts on the cubes and and whatnot. But if Mashiach says he comes after that order, right? Are we saying that the Mashiach never came and appeared at us in any fashion or form on the earth before that? I think that would be elementary to believe. Let's consider 1 Corinthians 10 when it talks about that they had the rock that followed them, and that rock that followed them was Mashiach. And I'm putting together a study also to show that that rock came off with that was the capstone that gave any power down there. That was the capstone that was off the pyramid that came off and left. It's gone. Joseph's bones was taken. The capstone came off. The name went into the rod. It was 2 rods. Okay, just so we're clear. Aaron's and Moses's. Some would say it's the same. I could see that too, but y'all's ways are higher than our ways. Is all I'm saying. So let's look at this next scripture and see how Exodus 13, Shemuth 13, 21 through 22. We're doing some study teaching here, man. I did a little preaching. Now we're gonna do some teaching. So go to Shemuth 31, 13, 21 through 22. All right, come on. You got, all right, race. Get to the scripture first. Exodus 13. If you ain't got your thing, that's fine. I got it. I'll go it. Here we goes. 21 through 22 says, it's the end, right? This is after they took their journey. But man, I was just talking about this. Praise y'all. Let me just go up a little bit. It says in verse 18, right? So verse 18 says, but YaHUaH led the people about through the way of the wilderness of the Yom Suf, the Red Sea. And the Bnei Yisrael went up and harnessed harnessed or armed up, right? They went geared up out of the land of Matzarim. And MaShYKh took the bones of Yahusuf with him, for he had straitly sworn the children of Yisrael, saying, Yah will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones away hence with you. Boy, that was some faith, eh? And just that it was kept, and nobody messed with it. But they knew that was a prophecy left. Like, hey, make sure that happened. It was fulfilled that day. And they took their journey from Sukkot and encamped in Atham, in the edge of the wilderness. Here's what we're getting at. And YaHUaH went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud to lead them by the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, to go by day and night. He took not away the pillar of the cloud by day, nor the pillar of fire by night from before the people. Two pillars. Wow, thank you. Where are these two pillars at? Where are these two pillars at that we see? Solomon's porch. All right, we'll move on. I'm just saying. I just thought about, where these two pillars are at there. So praise y'all for you guys, 5 people in here sharing. You guys on the outside listening. I know I listen to people on the outside too. I don't care. I'm not even looking at who's in here. I'm just saying, so you can be in here. I won't even see you. And YaHUaH's, we're not going there. All right. This is a mystery about, I'll tell you this, about Migdal and these mountains. And people say that YaHUaH didn't try to bring that they didn't know YaHUaH. Yes, they did. They knew who YaHUaH was. What they did, he came from Teman. He came out of the mountains there. And they denied him. They didn't want it. He's like, nah, we don't want you. We don't want you. We don't want you. Huh. They constantly denied him. No, that's his mountain. That's his land. They denied him. He said, and then guess what? He said, I'm going to the least. Everybody else has denied it. And guess what? Yesharal said, everything you say, we shall do. That was when they were at Mount Zion. Can you picture this? Picture this mountain lifted up and on fire, self-engulfing on fire. And guess what? You had to come under it. You had to come under it in faith. That YaHUaH didn't drop it on you. And guess where MaShYKh was? MaShYKh was up in that mountain. They didn't want to speak to Yah. They're like, you got this, MaShYKh. You speak to us. And that's why it made it harsh, because he had to speak in man's words and not Yah's words. Oh, yeah. We'll talk about that. It does. We'll talk about what it does. Exactly. Some other things that we'll look at, because it's a cloud for covering, and it's a cloud as long as they stayed under the covering of the blood of the Lamb, right? Then they were spared the penalty of the death angel that was brought on the Egyptians. You got to remember, they had neighbors there. They would hear them dying and going, and it was a crazy experience. But then the cloud led them to the Red Sea to be able to cross it. So we don't have the Spirit, which is a picture of the Spirit, right? The Ruach. If we don't have that Spirit to cover us and protect us, lead and guide, right? Because it was a protector against the Egyptian behind him at night, and it let them know, you ain't coming here. It was a fiery wall. They couldn't touch Yesharal. It served as a covering by day, right? But then it served at night. It was a light. Yah provides as long as, and they didn't have to do nothing. They didn't have to do nothing for this, but what? The same thing we have to do. They had to believe that that blood that was going to, if they believed in that blood that they put on the lintel and the two side posts, was going to cause the death angel to pass over them from the lamb that they sacrificed and ate. Taking part, you have to eat this lamb. This is the Mashiach. You had to eat the lamb. If you didn't eat the lamb, you had no part in the Mashiach, the Messiah. Same thing now. He said, this is my body. It's the bread, but he said, he is the lamb of Yah, right? You have to eat the lamb. Don't leave anything. Don't leave anything. Till the morning. Eat it all up. Get it. Here, I got all this for you. Consume it. Praise YaHUaH that we had that. And then they walked through the Red Sea, right? How did they walk through the Red Sea? How would you picture it? Amen. How would you picture it? I see you, Manuel. Yeah, it depends on what he needs, what we need. And he knows what we need, right? Until we start murmuring and complaining like they did. But how would you picture them coming across? Do you think they were like climbing cliffs and dipping through like sand that you can't walk through because it's so mushy and you'll get stuck? And how do you see them going through the sea? Is it like the movies? You know what? I repent, but let's do this real quick. Praise Yah. Just had to do that real quick. Ice. Wouldn't it make sense that they went across on ice? You have water, right? His cold breath can, and guess what? Then when the Egyptians came, right? Guess what? That cloud, the fire, melted that ice behind them, right? Melted that ice behind them. And guess what they did? They got stuck. They couldn't ride. How were they walking through and they got stuck? Because the waters, what? They melted. Came on. They had to trust y'all too going through there. There was a trust of that crossing over. All this was a trust walk. They had to trust that spirit was leading and got them to the right place. Look, and then they you led us to the death, MaShYKh, to the edge of the sea. He said, nah, man. He said, nah. So let's go to Exodus 16. Shemut 16. You know what the word Sham means also? It means names, right? The names. That's what I believe more so. People want to limit what you can say with the Hebrew, but not me. It means names too. 16. We're going to start at verse 4. 16 verse 4. No, we'll go back a little because it proves the point, right? Right? And it said, we'll go back to the end of 16:1. And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Yasharel came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sani, on the 15th day of the 2nd month after their departing out of the land of Matzarim. Guess what this was? What day was this? It was a Shabbat, but what else was it? What is the 15th day or the 14th night through the 15th day? What is that considered? 14th evening through the 15th whole day. What is that considered? It's the second Passover. It was a second Passover. That for those that were to be celebrated that day was what day was designated to be celebrated for those that were unclean and couldn't keep the Passover on the first because of being unclean. It's in my book on my Holy Days chapter, Holy Days of Yah. Verse 2. It says, after the 15th day of the second month after they departed out of the land of Matzarim, and the whole congregation of the children of Yasharal murmured against Masha and Aaron in the wilderness, and in the Madabarim. The children of Yasharal said unto them, would to Yah we had died by the hand of YaHUaH in the land of Matzarim, when we sat by the flesh pots, and we did eat bread to the full. For you have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Then said YaHUaH unto Masha, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, and that I may prove them, whether they will walk in my law or no. Yah has to, because only when we start murmuring and complaining in rebellion does Yah have to put more restraints on us. We should be living in the spirit where we don't have to be taught like a school kid. We don't have to be taught like a baby or a child, but we should be grown up and put away childish things so we understand the basics of not being rebellious against YaHUaH. He's like, hey, I got you. I got manna from heaven to feed you. And that's what, if you're on your journey, that's what Yah's going to give you. That's that spiritual food, that angel food, so to speak, right? He said, I'm going to give you manna from heaven. You ain't got to do nothing. And he said, I'm going to prove them whether they're going to walk in my law. Look, people have grace, Khan, right now. They have grace right now. And they're taking it and they're trying to act like they ain't got to do nothing. Well, Yah's proving you with this angel food he's giving you. You think you got some type of stature where you ain't got nothing. It's manna that Yah's giving you to prove you whether you will walk in his law or no. His law. This ain't Masha's law. This is Yah's ways. Then said YaHUaH unto Masha. Okay, it said, and it shall come to pass, Shabbat, on the 6th day, they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. And Masha and Aaron said unto all the children of Yasharal at evening, then you shall know that YaHUaH has brought you out from the land of Matzarim. And in the morning, then you shall see the glory of YaHUaH. For then he hears your murmuring, against YaHUaH. And what are we, that you murmur against us? So he's saying, we're Masha, we're Aaron, we're just men. We're just here with you. He said, Yah's the one that brought you out. He said, he hears your murmuring, don't murmur at us. And Masha said, this shall be, when YaHUaH shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, and in the morning bread to the full. For that YaHUaH hears your murmurings, which you murmur against him. And what are we? Your murmurings are not against us, but against YaHUaH. Everybody complaining about their way of life. Everybody complaining about how messed up things are and whatnot. Well, you know what? In all reality, your audience is YaHUaH, and he's the one you're murmuring against, because he's the head of all things. You want to get it right with Yah. Don't blame nobody else. I do it all the time. You know what I'm saying? I want to get in my flesh. I wanted to come and preach out of my flesh today. And Yah said, no. I said, thank you, Yah. I repent. Right? That's what we need, that blood, right? Your murmurings are not against us, but against YaHUaH. Chapter 16, verse 10. Right? Here we go. And it came to pass, as Aaron spoke unto the whole congregation of the children of Yasharal, that they looked toward the wilderness, and behold, the glory of YaHUaH appeared in a cloud. The glory, the kabod of YaHUaH appeared in the cloud. How came visible to them. They seen it. They literally seen this glory come down and appear on the cloud over the tabernacle. Over them right here in the wilderness. But that's how they were able to dwell with him when they did that. It just repeats it again. The hoarfrost on the ground talks about it. His cold and hot breath. You can see it. If it gets into the manna, you guys can go read that. We're going to continue on. Right? Because what we're talking about is the covering cloud hid Yahuwah's glory, right? Within it. But then what YaHUaH did is he removed the cloud a little. He exposed his kabod glory. And he parted the pillar of the cloud and made his glory visible. And that's what happens, but not all the way. Otherwise, they would be destroyed. But that's why not everybody could come into the holiest of holies. That's why MaShYKh's face shone. They couldn't even look upon MaShYKh's face because his face was so bright. They had to cover it when he was around them because they couldn't deal with it. Because our manly nature, the nature of man, kept us from being able to sit there in direct presence with Yah. That's why we needed a mediator. That's why we needed that mercy seat. That's why we had to come that way and offer up blood sacrifice for these things so YaHUaH didn't take us up. But that was YaHUaH's glory, right? That was his kabod glory being covered. Let's look at the Mashiach's glory being covered here, right? And where he comes and goes on a cloud. In Acts 1, 9 through 11. So let's go to Acts 1, 9. Y'all ready? Acts 1, 9. I got the scriptures up here for y'all. This is where we're going. Here's a path. We have to take a snapshot, zoom in. Look, you know how it goes. But that's how it's being presented here, right? Here we go. Acts 1, 9 says, and when he had spoken these things, while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. And while they looked steadfast towards Shamin, as he went up, behold, 2 men stood by them. Right? 2 men stood by them in white apparel. These guys were like standing there in white apparel, relaxing, right? So after his crucifixion, after he was crucified, he was buried, he was resurrected, he appeared to the apostles and let them know, look, hey, I resurrected, right? Then he had to ascend. That was the next step. He had to ascend to the Father. Because if he hadn't done that, that's what he did that first. Now the cloud could receive him. But he had to go ascend and then he came back. So remember the Mashiach went, he was gone for 7 days. And he was gone, and because 8 days later, what? Thomas, that's when the first time you hear about him reappearing, right? Is doubting when Thomas, he said, hey, look, touch me now. You can touch me. And I teach about this in my book too. It's a whole other teaching on the timeline of the crucifixion and everything. And he came back, and then understanding on the Hebrew calendar how the holy days were and how the whole crucifixion played out, all the way through to the to what they call Pentecost, which is not its name at any way, form, or fashion called Pentecost. It's called the Feast of Weeks. You know what I'm saying? Feast of Weeks fulfilled, Hag Shavuot. And so the Feast of 7 weeks specifically fulfilled. And if you understand the concept of a week, then it makes sense to you. It's not the Feast of 50 days. That's just the default number of the day after 7 complete weeks, based on the concept of a week. All right. So what we can see here in verse 11 too is it says, Acts 1:11 says, which also said, you men of Galilee, why stand you gazing up into Shamin? The same Yahusha, which is taken up from you into Shamin, shall come again in like manner as you have seen him go into Shamin. Prophesying. Then returned they unto Jerusalem from the mount called Olive. Mount Olive? Why is everything always going on in Mount Olive? But yet they always talking about this strange mountain called Calvary. Precept Calvary is all I'm asking. Precept it. Precept Calvary if it's real. Shalom Hadassah. YaHUaHUshi. Isha. It says, and they returned unto Jerusalem from Mount called Olivet, which is from Jerusalem a Sabbath day journey. It's outside the city. Where do you think Mashiach was truly crucified? Just train of thought. Consider, right? Nobody's making, let's say train of thought. Calvary or Mount of Olives? Do you know the Garden of Gethsemane is on the Mount of Olives? Do you know the Mount of Olives is where it was transfigured and they seen, right? Masha and Eliyahu. Do you know that's where he's coming back to? You know? Do you know that's where they were at? So I'm just saying, you can precept Mount Olive all day, every day. All I'm saying. Let's look at when Mashiach returns, he comes with his own glory, right? The Father's glory and the glory of the angels. Because the Father gives him everything. Everything the Mashiach is and has is from the Father, right? But then he has his own glory, but again was given from the Father. But the Father shares some of his specific glory with the Son and the glory of all the angels. A threefold witness. Now, we're not saying there's no Trinity. We're just saying the threefold witness is a reality, right? We have a threefold cord. It's not easily broken. We just don't need to make a doctrine of Yah and try to box Yah into a number. Now, we can take his principles and utilize it for us, but we can't box him in. Him. Matthew, let's go to ATh YaHUaH 16:27, and then we're going to go to 24:30. So 16:27 and 24:30. Here we go. And this is Mashiach saying this, right? This is what I do. I want to stay on the message, but I like looking at the context of the scriptures. All right, go to verse 24. So Matthew 16:24. We'll read fast. Then Yehoushua said unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Crucified. Wait, what? For whosoever will save his life shall lose it. Whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his Malachim, his angels. And then he shall reward every man according to their works, his works. Verily I say unto you, there be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Forgot about that one. You know what this one is talking about? You know who he's talking about? Yehohanan. John Yehohanan the Mercer, he's still alive. He hasn't died yet. I did a whole teaching on it and proved it. The Eliyahu has already came. Masha's already came. They both already died. Chanuk, Enoch, and Yehohanan, the Revelator, are the two witnesses. Enoch was the first book of Apocalypse, and Revelations is the last. Baruch YaHUaH. Baruch YaHUaH. Amen. So let's look at Matthew 24:30. ATh YaHUaH 24:30. Oh, I love teaching about Yukon still here. I'm like, man, what if I run into him? I'll be like, let me run into him, yo. Praise you. I don't know if I'm ready for that. But, man, praise Yah. So, Matthew 24:30 says this. Let's go to 24, 29. You always have to, right? And immediately after the tribulation of those days, right? There's many tribulations. Shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. The Elohim of the heavens shall be shaken. The deities of the heavens shall be shaken. Verse 30. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in Shemim. Then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of Shemim with power and great glory. So we see another example of him coming in clouds, in great glory, and in power. Praise Yah. Mark 13:26. ATh YaHUaH. We just went through ATh YaHUaH. Let's go to Mark 13:20. Let's go to 8:38 first. 8:38, and then we're going to go to 13:26. It's kind of the same concept of what we was doing in the other one, but we're going to go right to it. Mark 8:38 says, Whosoever therefore shall be ashamed of me and of my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of him also shall the Son of Man be ashamed when he comes in the glory of his Father with the holy angels, the Malachim. He's coming with his glory. He's coming with it. Go to 13:26. Mark 13:26. Go to verse 23. Mark 13:23 says, Go to verse 19. For in those days, Mark 13:19, for in those days shall be affliction, such as was not from the beginning of the creation which YaHUaH created unto this time, neither shall be. And except that YaHUaH had shortened these days, no flesh should be saved. But for the elect's sake, whom he has chosen, he has shortened the days. Instead of 7 days, it's only 3.5. And then if any man shall say to you, Lo, here is Mashiach, or Lo, here, he is here, there, believe him not. For false Mashiachs, and false Nabieh, false prophets, shall rise and shall show signs and wonders to seduce, if were possible, even the elect. I ain't looking for signs and wonders. I ain't trying to be seduced with spirits. But take you heed. Take heed. Behold, I foretold you all things. I let you know this is coming. But in those days, after that tribulation, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars of Shemim shall fail, and the Elohim, the deities that are in heaven, shall be shaken. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory. Then shall he send his angels, and shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from the uttermost part of the earth to the uttermost part of Shemim. Man. Let's look here. Luke 9:26. All right, it's good to have a witness. Look at it more in one spot. Luke 9:26. We running for our lives, running for our lives. The garden pretty convincing might also be placed too. Nah. The garden, yeah. See the tomb of the Garden of Gethsemane. The Gethsemane, right? That makes sense. Because the Gethsemane is part of Mount Olive. You know what I'm saying? It's all about Mount Olive. They try to take you away from the truth. It's always about misdirection. That's what, like ventriloquists, they try to control your thoughts, your actions, your movements, everything, your influences. They're ventriloquists. Luke 9:26. We're going to go to verse 33. Verse 23. Luke 9:23 through 27. And he said unto them all, if any man come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. For whosoever shall save his life shall lose it, but whosoever shall lose his life for my sake, the same shall save it. For what is a man advantaged if he gain the whole world and lose himself, or be a castaway? For whosoever shall be ashamed of me and of my words, of him shall the Son of Man be ashamed, when he shall come in his own glory and in his Father's and of the holy angels. All three. But I tell you of a truth, there shall be standing here which shall be not taste of death till they see the kingdom of YaHUaH. And there's another witness on that. Praise YaHUaH. And then it goes into the Mount of Transfiguration. Ain't that something? But we're not going there. So when we looked at Mattathiyahu 24:30, right? When we looked at, he says, it shall appear the sign of Son of Man in the Shamim. Then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. This cloud is something else, man. Right? He's going to see him coming in his Father's glory, his glory, and the angels' glory. All this glory will be unveiled as Yahweh Mashiach needs it. He don't have to let it all out once. He uses it as he needs it. Remember, there's different levels of glory in 1 Corinthians 15. We'll get into that. I mean, I always jump ahead of myself when we talk about it, right? That levels of glory of the resurrected. But it says, because he doesn't do it all at once. When he executes judgment, he uses different glories to execute judgment. And he's got a while to go. I got to let my security system in. 2 seconds. Check this out. Because the bride's glory was covered by a cloud at the marriage supper here too. That's what really everything in Revelations comes down to. What is the end of it? What do they talk about in the end? The bride. About the bride of the Messiah. The bride of Mashiach. And that's what we're all trying to obtain. Because the bride is going to be covered until the end. When there's a principle of being in the bride. The bride doesn't need to be in pride. The bride does not. The bride puts down pride. That's real. And not everybody's going to make it in the bride. There's a parable that Mashiach uses in Luke 14, right? I think that's where we're at. Yep. So he talks about the different glories. We just went there with the different glories. It comes down. We're talking about the bride's glory covered till the end. The hidden glory. The last shall be first. We're going to talk about that. That's kind of my notes there at Luke 14:7 through 11. That's where we're going. So if you wanted to go over there. But this is going to be revealed at the marriage supper of the Lamb. Oh, man, there's going to be a lot happening. There's going to be people getting binded up, cast out. Like, how'd you get in here with them garments on or not? But, So Luke 14:7 through 11. So much going on. Mashiach's in here talking so much. Right? 7 through 11. He had just shut them up right here in Luke. And the word luch is Hebrew too, and it means tablets or tables, tablets to write upon. So hence, it's crazy that he was a writer as well. Don't let them try to make you think everything's Greek. It was written in Greek. What was the three? Let me ask you this. So much to talk about. What was the 3 different languages that were written above the cross of the Messiah? Hebrew, Greek, and Latin, right? There was no Aramaic, Nobody written nothing on the cross in Aramaic. What is the word, the language reference to when in the so-called New Testament, the Brit Chadashah, right? What is the so-called language that they say in the what tongue? This being him saying in the Hebrew tongue. You're not talking about this being in the Aramaic tongue. Don't let them lie to you, man. They just want to slight crafty changes in there. If you accept that, then you can accept this, and then you can accept this. Nah, man. A king searches out the root of a matter and goes to it. But let's look at Luke right here. It's powerful. And MaShYKh put forth a parable to those which were bidden. Bidden to a feast, right? Let's go back. Let's set the stage of what's going on here. Chapter 14. It came to pass as he went into the house of one of the chief Pharisees, Luke 14, to eat bread on the Shabbat day. So he was eating and supping and fellowshipping with the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the scribes. He was with them. Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like, they didn't know him. They knew who the hell he was. They knew exactly who he was. That's why they hated him, because he made them look bad. It's no different now. Like, who's this dude? Who's this guy of light-shaded complexion, of non-melanated complexion that wants to act like he's of Yisrael, right? Same thing, they came in MaShYKh. Who's this guy? He's a nobody. He isn't the carpenter's son. Actually, who is he, right? That's how they were doing him. It says, as he went into the house, they watched him. They were watching him. They watched him. And behold, there was a certain man before him which had the dropsy. They placed him there. Like, put him there. See what he'll do. Let's try to set him up. And the Yahusha answering spoke unto the lawyers and the Pharisees. What are lawyers? Those that know the law. What law do they have? They had the Torah. These are the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and the scribes. The Torah teachers. The Torah teachers, right? These are the lawyers that do law. It says, saying, is it lawful to heal on the Shabbat day? And they held their peace. And he took him and healed him and let him go. He's a G, boy. It was like, what? Not a G, because that means goyim. He's straight Hebrew, straight Iberim, right? He's a straight Iber, straight Iberim. I want to say G. The word Gi, it means goyim. Goy and Gi both mean Gentile. So nations or troop of animals. Yeah, don't do that. So, but he let them know, right? He didn't even say nothing. First, he said, and they held their peace. He didn't even say nothing. He just healed them like sorry, let me reread it. And Yahusha spoke unto the Lord, saying, is it lawful to heal on the Shabbat day? And they held their peace, and he took him and healed him and let him go. Like, right? It's like, you ain't got nothing to say? Because I'm talking and I'm doing. They were just talking and they weren't doing like most people. And he answered them, the lawyers and the Pharisees, and the chief Pharisee, one of the chief Pharisees' house on the Shabbat day. Which of you, Pharisees and Sadducees and lawyers and scribes, have an ass or an ox fall in a pit and will not straightway pull him out on the Shabbat day? Shabbat yom. And they could not answer him again to these. Shut them down. He said, don't come at me with that overzealousness of the law, trying to persecute. The Shabbat is for rest. For what? To fellowship with Yahuwah. Fellowship His word. To realize, to stop, to say, man, Yah, thank you. You're real. Thank you. You know, for us that believe, for us that are under that covenant, Shabbat is not just for you. Yes, Yisrael, so to speak. But if you're born again, and then you're of Yisrael, but so then I would say it is. If you're of Yisrael, then Shabbat is definitely for you. But the Shabbat existed from creation. It's a concept of creation. So no man or organized religion or people can try to claim that day when it belongs to Yah. We're not even there. He said, here we go. Check this out. And he put forth a parable to those Pharisees, Sadducees, and lawyers which were bidden, when he marked how they chose out the chief rooms chief seats, saying unto them, it's a high buster right here. Y'all ready? He says, when you are bidden out of any man to a wedding, sit not down in the highest room, lest a more honorable man than you be bidden of him. And he that bade you, and him come and say to you, give this man place, and you begin with shame to take the lowest room. But when you are bidden, go and sit down in the lowest room, that when he that bade you comes, he may say unto you, friend, go up here higher. Then, or go up higher, right? Then shall you have worship in the presence of them that sit and meet with you. Oh, when they see you brought up, placed in your spot, like, whoa, who is this? Wasn't even looking at them. Humility before exaltation. It's a concept, yo. For whosoever exalts himself shall be abased, and he that humbles himself shall be exalted. Amen. Oh, it's a resurrection there. Oh, we're not going to go there right now. This is the wedding supper, and bid them to come, and nobody want to come. Check this out. Check this out, how hardcore Mashiach is. We're just going to cover this. Chapter 14. 25. This is how Mashiach was. He was doing a crowd thinner. Here, let me do a crowd thinner here. It says, and there went a great, chapter Luke 14:25 says, and there went a great multitudes with him, and he turned and said unto them, if any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yes, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. Woo! What? Talking about who my brother is, who my flesh is. Y'all, this ain't a fleshly thing. You can't get into this kingdom in the flesh. And whosoever does not bear his cross. Oh, and so that one, but then also you got to take up my cross. You need to be busy with this word and come after me. Cannot be my disciple. Guess what? The Mashiach even went down. He went down to Egypt because he had to, right? As the scripture said, had to be fulfilled. Came through the wilderness back into the promised land. He had to go down because he had his son he called out. He had to call him out. He sure did. This thing's real because the bride is going to come into the wedding supper. It's going to take the lowest place. They ain't going to be trying to sit themselves up in the highest, right? Because you're learning that truth of humility now. This ain't something to learn later when we're done and dead and when we're waiting on the resurrection or whatnot. Because you know how to cover yourself in a cloud. You don't need to be out there. You don't need to be an influencer, right? I'm nobody. I really feel like I'm nobody. But when it comes to the scriptures and this promise, woo-wee, I'm claiming bride. But outside of that, I'm nothing. This flesh is nothing but filthy rags. You want to honor this flesh? Flesh done got me into so much trouble. Come on, man. Right? But it's about this glory, that you need to be draped in, because we're following after Mashiach, right? We know he's coming back with all this glory, right? Well, are we in position with the oil in our lamps? Well, when he comes to make it, because there's going to obviously be some darkness at night in the midnight cry. Like MaShYKh had to plow through thick darkness to get to Yah. He had to plow through it to get in there to Yah where he's at. Take your shoes off from your feet, for where you stand is holy ground. We got to plow through thick darkness, right? As virgins clothed in a kabul glory with fine white linen dress. Others in the wedding party, right? They're going to seek the highest seats, thinking that the bride is, they're like, oh, they people don't know where they're sitting. They don't know what they're at. They don't know who they are, right? Right? But we learn humility. When I go to places like that, yeah, I got the word. I don't really go to churches and that's no much. But I used to go, I'll sit in the back. And then the minister would preach, who you? I'm like, I'm me. But then I realized, I'm about to. Y'all's putting me on a different path in a little bit. Where he's going to put me out there now. But I wasn't. I had to come in. I had to seek humility. Because you can't be out there if you haven't gone that path. This is stairs, right? You're working your way up to Yah, so to speak, right? What a lot of people want to do is they come in and be born again. And they want to jump from step 1 to step 7, so to speak. They want to jump on the ladder, and they want to ascend faster than that Yah has for them. It ain't for you, man. Yah's got you on this journey. He's going to allow you to ascend as he sees fit. As you grow in MaShYKh, as he ascended. You have to grow in the stature of the fullness of the MaShYKh unto a perfect man, so that you can ascend to the Father. Because you can't come unto the Father but my MaShYKh, Yahweh, YaHUaHUShI. YaHUaHUShI. Hushai is the other word. Hushai was what Joshua was called, or YaHUaHUShI was called before he was called Yahushai. He was called Hushai, and he added the Yah, which became YaHUaHUShI, right? Onto the front of Joshua's name. He was called Hosea, before he was Joshua. And then the fullness of the Mashiach's name is YaHUaHUShI. You don't lose, it's YaHUaHUShI, but you have the whole fullness of it. Because he comes in his Father's name. So he has to have the Hushai. You don't lose the Hushai. All right, here we go. Just looking at this, right? Because it's all about a principle of humility. And that's what most people don't want to be, is be humble. But Yahweh is going to reveal the glory. He's going to come under there and grab the bride, right? And say, hey, come on up here. And they're going to wonder who that was, right? He said, you're going to sit at meat. You're going to sit. He said, you shall have worship in the presence of them that sit at meat with you. They're going to receive worship and reverence. What? Like, whoa, and awe. Well, guess what? Guess what a bride's about to do? Guess what a bride's about to marry? Who are you in a marriage of? This is a marriage of the Lamb. Marriage supper and then the marriage of the Lamb. Marrying who? You're becoming one. One. Because guess what? The rib. There was a first Adam and y'all separated a rib from him. Right? And he had his body and closed them up. But the rib remained. Well, guess what? That body is still there and there's this rib. The body is MaShYKh, the church. Well, guess what? There's this rib he's creating his helpmate out of. Called the bride. The rib, the elect, the select. And that's who the bride's going to be. Man, that's what you got to understand, why Scripture all fits. It all fits. Every point was a reason. That's why he's called the last Adam. Not just the second Adam, but the last Adam. The last Adam. For sure the last Adam. That's what he was. And then we have to get that new man inside of us. That last Adam inside of us. Because there's an old man. Old first Adam was still sitting on his rebellious pride and throne of pride. Much as you want to be like, oh, Adam's the first. Well, man, he sinned. Got kicked out of the garden. He did, man. Man, come on. Like, come on. We're dealing with this. But we were in his loins, so did we have influence on him? I repent if I did. But the bride's relationship with the bridegroom is going to receive reverence at the bride. It's a wedding. It's a wedding. What do you think's happening? Right? But let's move on. Let's keep looking at these clouds. Psalms 104. 104 through 103. So we're going to look at how Yahweh uses clouds for what? Transportation. YaHUaH uses the clouds for transportation. Let's look at what the scriptures say. We just look at the clouds as if they're nothing. Just some, oh, it's a cloud, right? I mean, you don't have to ask. Just ask a question. I'll get to it when I can. But we ask a question here, right? So Psalms 104, 1 through 3. Tehillim is what we would call it. Tehillim 104, 1 through 3. Goes this way. The garden, also known as paradise, the Gan Eden, the garden was in Eden. Eden, I write about this in my book. It was definitely not accessible straight way on earth from everybody else that was on the earth. It was gates, and you had to enter in, and only people we know that were in there was Adam, and then later Esha, his wife, Adam Aish, which is a man of fire that was created in the image of YaHUaH on week 2. And then he was taken from the earth and then placed into the garden that YaHUaH had planted in Eden. So Eden, so let's you have to look at the word Eden. It's a good question, actually. So the word Eden, and I talk about this in my book, and just off the top of my head, it means eternity, it means time, it means pleasure, it also means witness. So it's the garden of witnesses, the garden of pleasure, the garden of time, the garden of witnesses, the trees. And then this is a whole. So was time as we know it happening in Gan Eden? And then the other question you want to ask is, where is the garden now? So I believe it was in an elevated status here under the heavens with earth. It was allowed. Because it allowed fellowship with YaHUaH. YaHUaH walked in the garden, so. It wasn't technically, but then earth is his footstool. So, but it just allowed direct fellowship with YaHUaH in that regards. So that's a whole world. That's what we're trying to get back to. Let's say it like that. So the Ark of the Covenant and going through the mercy seat there and the cherubims is like a picture of getting back into the garden because it's protected when we got kicked out. And so then what happened to the garden though, right? So to speak, the actual one. Well, it says that in Yeshayahu that it was down in death and hell, and that it's going to rise up to meet Hashatan when the Prince of Tyre when he comes. What is it? Chapter 13? Yeshayahu 13. Let me see. If it's not there, then I'm gonna go somewhere else. I'm just gonna keep going. But I believe it is. Oh, I think it is. I think I got it right. Yeah. It's Yeshayahu or Isaiah chapter 14. Let me go back to 13 just to make sense. There's so much going on here. So much going on here. I believe it says, the wicked ascend the heights, and brought down. Oh. Might even be before that. But yeah, so that one's just taking me off for a second. But it talks about in Yeshayahu how how it was brought down, the garden was brought up to meet him, and how hell actually was brought up to meet him, and how the trees. I think it is over there where I was at actually, the fir trees and whatnot in chapter 14. Let me see here. I'm looking for the trees. Oh, here, let's go here. Let's go to verse 13. Chapter 14, YaHUaHUaH 14:3 says, "And it shall come to pass in the day that Yahuwah shall give you rest from your sorrow, and from your fear, and from the hard bondage wherein you was made to serve, that you shall take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, and say, How has the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased." No, it's not. It's not Yiddish. Yehovah is Yiddish Hebrew. And it says, Yahuwah has broken staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hinders. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. Yes, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, Since you are laid down, no fellers come against us. Hell from beneath is moved for you to meet you at your coming, and stirs up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It has raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. And they shall speak, man, what is it before thee? I gotta find it. It's not there. But it talks about the garden. All right, I'm gonna get back. So much in here, though. Yeah. All right, back to the teaching. All right, yeah. So it's in YaHUaHUaH. You can find it in regards where it talks about the garden, or Eden was how he walked in the garden, and it talks about it talks a little bit about that and where it's at. Ooh, 104 is tough. So Psalms 104, 1 through 3 says this. Bless Yahuwah, O my soul. O Yahuwah Eluah, you are very great. You are clothed with honor and majesty. Who covers yourself with light as with a garment. Who stretches out the shamim, the heavens, like a curtain. Who lays the beams of his chambers in the waters, the above and below, the waters above and the waters below. Who makes the clouds his chariot, who walks upon the wings of the wind, who makes his angels spirits, his ministers a flaming fire. Who laid the foundations of the earth, that it should not be removed forever. Oh, wow. Let's keep going. You covered it with the deep, as with a garment. The waters stood above the mountains. At your rebuke, the waters fled. At the voice of your thunder, the waters hasted away. The waters go up by the mountains, and they go down by the valleys unto the place which you have founded for them, which is the deep, or the oceans. You have set a bound that the waters may not pass over, that the waters turn not again to cover the earth. He sends the springs, right, into the valleys, which runs among the hills. They give drink to every beast of the field. The wild asses quench their thirst. By them shall the fowls of the shamim have their habitation, which sing among the branches. All right, we'll stop. Because getting into the fir trees, and it's all talking about the deities and the goats. And then we talk about the dens, the creeping. You send forth your spirit, they are created. And you renewed the face of the earth. Yes, he did. What it's talking about is when y'all was bringing the earth back out from under darkness and how it fell into darkness. It's a powerful verse. All right, keep going. So we're talking about clouds, right? 104:3. Let's go to YaHUaHUaH 19:1, Daniel 7:13, Luke 9:34 through 36. and then Psalm 68. So Daniel 7:13. Excuse me. Let's go to Yeshayahu 19:1. And it says, the burden, because he uses it for to minister justice. His clouds are the mystery, man. The burden of Matzarim. Behold, YaHUaH rides upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Matzarim, and the idols of Matzarim shall be moved at his presence. And the earth and the heart of Matzarim shall melt in the midst of it. And that's Yeshayahu 19:1. It describes YaHUaH coming into Matzarim, riding upon his glorious, swift, majestic cloud, right? Which nobody can stop. And when he does it, it moves the idols in the heart of Matzarim. You're going to see Matzarim and all the idols they currently still have laid flat, melted by fire of his glory when it comes. The prophet Daniel, he also talks about, had a vision of YaHUaH's cloud chariots, right? And that's what we're going to see over here in 7:13. And it talks about how he saw in a night vision. And behold, one like the Son of Man came with the white clouds of heaven, the cloud of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days. Separate persons. That we know that's the Father. And they brought him near before him. The clouds did. The clouds transported the Mashiach Yahusha, the Son of the Son of Man, to the Father. It's prophetic, obviously, concerning the Son of Man prior to his second coming, when he comes again, right? He's going to be riding triumphantly on these clouds, doing his thing, right? He's reaping, he's treading, he's coming in. The Father, like, hey, I did it. I did it. I got a vesture dipped in blood. You know what I'm saying? I done roll with my armies. You know, let's get this popping. And he gives them all the authority. See, the Father gives them the authority and power to execute judgment in his dominion, right? In his power. Because the Father, he comes in his Father's name. And that's what we have to understand. It's not, the Father's not worried about it. It's like, hey, everything I give you, I can take it if I want. So he's like, I'm giving and giving. He ain't giving it to you. He's giving it to the Son to give to you. So if you don't go through the Son, you can't get it. And that's what you want to deny. You want to try to get up another way. You say thieves and robbers, you want to try to get up another way. They don't want to get up the way that YaHUaH laid out as the straight and narrow way. And few there be that find it. But we know there was also a cloud covering in Luke. When we were about to get into that in Luke 9:34-36, when it's the Mount Transfiguration. And he stood before the Mashiach, and the mount was transfigured, right? And then there was a cloud. It's, you know, you had two visitors. It was MaShYKh and YaHUaH. They died, and now they were here. And so because MaShYKh and YaHUaH were here, then the Father's cloud chariot came and overshadowed them, and it spoke. So go to Luke 9:34-36. If you don't have your Bible, don't worry about it. I'm going to go. Luke 9:34-36 says, while he thus spoke, there came a cloud and overshadowed them. And they feared as they entered into the cloud. And there came a voice out of the cloud, saying, this is my beloved Son. Or did he say, this is me, my beloved self? This is my beloved Son. Hear him. And when the voice was past, Yahusha was found alone. And they kept it close and told no man in those days any of those things which they had seen. Nothing. They didn't tell nobody what they saw. He used a cloud chariot to come down and speak. He spoke. He spoke. The Mashiach is the word. right? The spirit is the breath. Or it's really, you could call the spirit, you could say the breath. You could literally call it breath. It's the same thing. Spirit is really actually breath, or wind is more proper. The winds. Like you could talk about all these different winds. Those are spirits. There's many winds. Now start to say, okay, these winds, yeah, they're flying around. Flying past you, you feel it. Like, what was that? It's the wind, the spirit, breath. We're just so like caught up that it's weather. It's weather. No, it's not. YaHUaH created all this. It's his movements of his elements that he created, right? So there's times that Yah uses his glory clouds as his mode of transportation, as we can see here. He came down, covered himself. He did it over. He covered himself over the tabernacle. And you look at like what is scientifically a cloud made of, right? Something like it's pretty miraculous, right? It's vaporous, made up of small particles of water that come together to form like a fog-like mass. But then it can hold like tons of water as it travels through the sky. Like, explain that. These clouds are something else. It's pretty awesome. So remember, these are natural clouds too that we see. Now spiritual clouds are going to be on another level. That's another level. We're just talking about, the basics of what we see. But these spiritual clouds, but with all the light and glory, Yah was shining when the sun was setting yesterday. He was letting the sun hit the clouds, and I was just sitting there looking at it, and I was just fellowshipping with him in the spirit, in the Ruach, right? And I seen the light hit the top of these clouds, and it was just like, it's like his glory was expanded in it, and I was like, wow, how magnificent, Yah. And that's just the sun hitting it, and on the top. And then I was seeing the sun, I was seeing the clouds on the whole other side of what I would call my horizon, which is where as far as I can see based on my vanishing point, right, on the east. I was like, wow, how's the light still on the top of the mountains right there when the sun's setting over here? Because the sun's technically not setting. It's where it's at, going where it's at on its own circular path, right? The clouds are beneath it. The clouds are also expanded out as far as they're expanded. I'm at my point where I have vanishing points that come up and then create, I create my own spot, and then my horizons are based upon of where I'm at. And then that's based on how far I can see. That's why everything comes to a point. And it looks like it's going, like this or over a hump. No, it's a vanishing point. You can't see, because if you pull up binoculars or telescope, all that stuff is not going on the humps. Right there, you can see further down until the length of the scope of what you're looking through. Everything's an illusion. And they're ventriloquists trying to trick you. Let's look at Psalm 68. Psalm 68, right? 68, 34 through 35. Let's go to all right. Let's go to verse 31. Psalms 68:31 says, "Princes shall come out of Matzarim. Cush shall soon stretch out her hands unto YaHUaH. Sing unto YaHUaH, you kingdoms of the earth. Sing praises unto YaHUaH. Salah. To him that rides upon the Shamim of Shamim, the heavens of heavens, which were of old. Lo, he does send out his voice, and that a mighty voice." Remember, the Mashiach is the word of YaHUaH, but the voice, and then it was carried on the what? And the word, the breath, the voice. Word can be written, it can be spoken, and it can be, and then so you have the word, but if it's not spoken, It's just the word, right? How do you get that word if it's never spoken? Carried on the breath. Yah made the earth to be inhabited. Yah created us to be fellowshipped with, to speak with each other. He gave us speech, a voice with words from a breath, right? Because we're made in his likeness and his image, right? Okay, we have intellect. So to not do that and not use that for good, and because we can create worlds and destroy worlds with a sword of our tongue. But then we mess up when we don't do it. So Psalm 68, 34 through 35 says this. Oh, we just read. It says, ascribe you strength unto Yahuwah. His excellency is over Yesharel, and his strength is in the clouds. O Yahuwah, you are terrible out of your holy places. The Eloahi Yesharel is he that gives strength and power unto his people. Blessed be YaHUaH. That's a 69, Psalm 69. It's deep, literally and physically, and yeah, and spiritually. So you can see how we have how his clouds have his strength, right? We're just putting the scriptures together, right? There's nothing, I would say, there's nothing glorifying in these teaching, but I'm not an entertainer, man. I wish I was. I'm not an entertainer. So I wish I could keep people entertained, but I'm just a teacher. I definitely, so with that said, so maybe y'all puts the fire on the words, allows him to use it, but he uses the transportation for the Mashiach too, right? Because that's how he left this world, and that's how he's coming back to this world. It's based on that. In Acts 1:9, remember he said, when he had spoken these things while they had beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. We just covered that, so we know it's for transport. Let's look at something deeper than that, though, because the glory cloud or chariot of strength wasn't bound by, like, you get what I'm saying? People talk about where's gravity at this point, if that makes sense. It's not bound by this thing called gravity, because it doesn't. It's a theory, right? Let me say this. There's the theory of gravity, and then there's gravity. Gravity equals weight. Gravity is weight. The theory of gravity is something totally different, based on the concept of weight. There's 4 forces, right? Like drag, thrust, weight, and lift, right? That's it. That's natural truth, right? It's very simple. So weight, or gravity as you want to call it, which is a Latin word for gravitas, right? It's from gravitas, which is nothing. So it's just weight. That's all it means. So I'm not against the weight, just I guess you would say the theory of it. So if y'all got it coming out, so let it come out. Praise God. So let's look at 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. Because remember, we're talking about the bride. We're talking about clouds. We're talking about transportations. Let's see how the saints will be transporting. They call it the rapture, right? Well, you know what? There's going to be a calling away. Whether you want to call it the rapture or not, we're going to be called away and caught up and changed. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. If you don't believe that, what do you believe then? You're just going to be here and that's it? Nah. This earth and those heavens going to be destroyed. You better hope you on one of the clouds. Everybody ain't nobody. This earth is going to be destroyed. The heavens and the earth are going to be destroyed. Look, he says this. 1 Thessalonians 4, 16 through 18 says, for Yahuwah himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, his voice, right? With the voice of the archangel and with the trump of Yahuwah, and the dead in Mashiach shall rise first. Then we which are alive and remain, right? Because most people are going to be dead at this, you know. But at this point, those of us that are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them that are already dead up there in the clouds. To meet Yahuwah in the air. And so shall we ever be with Yahuwah. Wherefore, comfort one another with these words. Right? You better hope on that cloud. Just bringing the clouds. Because at this caught up, you know, being caught up, right? This catching away, right? Caught or catch. This thing of being, this catching away. It supersedes any laws of weight or force of nature, right? And the wedding party meets Yahuwah in the air, in the glory clouds, to be transported home to attend the great wedding supper of the Lamb. What else are you being resurrected for? There's a wedding that's going to happen, and that's what we got to be ready for this feast, right? Now, this catching away, right? It's not for all believers. I'm sorry, but it's not. Not everybody's going to be caught away at this time. Only the overcomers. Just because you believe don't mean you're an overcomer. Because you have those that believe, but then those that don't overcome. This thing come up. Right? You have those that believe, but they don't overcome. And that's why the church says, to those that overcome shall get this reward. You gotta remember, the faith, the power of that faith is really miraculous. It's really miraculous. But because not everybody's the same glory. Not everybody's gonna be resurrected with the same garments. And you have to get that through your head. Because we're walking in the light of Yah's word, right? You are the light of the world. Let your light so shine, right? So that they can see and glorify your Father, which is in Shamim. Well, if you're the light of the world, what's the point of that? Well, that's our resurrected bodies, our resurrected light. What light are you shining as, right? What light are you shining in your resurrected body? You know, but there's going to be carnal, earthbound believers, right? That are still caught up with surfeiting, drunkenness, the cares of this life, you know, and they're going to have to go through other tribulations, right? There's many phases to this thing, and everybody tries to put a package on it, and it's one size fits all. It's not like that, because there's going to be those of us that die through the tribulations, right? Martyred. There's going to be those of us at the very end that are going to be caught up and never see death. They're not seeing death, which is real. Not everybody's going to die, but we all going to be changed and transformed. That's what it goes into talking about, right? Because many believers are going to have to go through the great tribulation. Revelation 13:7 says it was given unto the anti-Mashiach, the lay Mashiach, to make war with the saints, to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. So he was going to overcome the saints, just not the elect, not the select. Since the wedding party is going to be caught away, and some believers are left to enter the tribulation, we know that not all believers can be in the bride, the rib, right? So the bride is going to experience a oneness of spiritual marriage relationship with the Mashiach, the bridegroom. He is the bridegroom. Let's be clear. There's a wedding happening. If you read Revelations, you see there's a wedding going on. That's what everything's getting to, right? And the prize, this relationship, is the prize of the high calling of Yahuwah, for which the apostle YaHUaH kept talking about and striving about. Like, hey, we're trying to reach this ultimate prize you have no idea about. Mm-hmm. You have no idea about. There's this prize. So we're going to be married in oneness. Not everybody's going to be the bride, but you're going to be married to the word. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So people can't fathom that type of high thinking without getting corrupted and perverted in the thinking. And that's where all the corruption and perversion thinking has come from. Exactly that, where you get all these false religions and, oh, man, it's been crazy. It's crazy all the stuff that they've done with the word, because they all corrupted it from the word, right? But there's those that don't grow to the degree of the bride, or even do, is there's going to be various degrees of spiritual growth that we obtain during our journey here on this earth, and that's where we're at. And the Apostle YaHUaH, he described the various degrees in 1 Corinthians 15, as I mentioned earlier. In 1 Corinthians 15, 41 through 42, going right to it, it says, there's one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars. For one star differeth from another star in glory. So also is the resurrection of the dead. And that's 1 Corinthians 15, 41 through 42. Overcomers will be resurrected in glory, but the bride's glory will be veiled with a cloud. I ain't gonna be able to see it, right? Like, that's when people want to exalt themselves. He's gonna abase them. He's gonna abase them. It's not even gonna be allowed, right? Because just as the Mashiach was transported in the cloud, so will the chariot clouds transport those that are caught up. It doesn't mean that they're gonna be caught up in the beginning. What? So that's what they think. Oh, there's going to be the tribulation. Nobody's going to go through tribulation. What? Huh? What? Show me where that, in the beginning, right? Yes, you got to die. You got to go through death. Well, how else are you going to die and get there? So at the end, that's those that remain are going to be caught up. Those that remain. Then you're going to know you missed it. You missed it at that point. I mean, you missed it. You missed it. You missed it at that point. Because you got to be there for the wedding party, right? You got to be there for the wedding party. If you make it to the wedding party. Because remember, he called many people to the wedding party. Nobody wanted to come. He said, man, nobody bid all these people to the wedding and the feast. They're like, nah, we're good. He said, man, go to the byways and the highways and get those and whosoever will that comes. That's what happened. That's where we at. I said, I'll go. Can I get the golden ticket? You know, he's like, I don't know, can you? I was like, do what you gotta do to me, y'all, but don't let me miss the bride. Don't let me miss the wedding party as the bride. Veil me, cover me, whatever, keep me in humility. You don't know the stuff I've gone through. Like Job, I'll tell you this, be careful what you ask y'all for, because sometimes you have no idea what you're asking for. And I guarantee you got to give up something to obtain something. If you asking for y'all for something, you better be ready and willing to give something up. Right? Looking for, so we see that these different resurrected glory bodies, right? And say, we know everybody's be quickened in the spirit. You're gonna be transformed. Your body's gonna be transformed. You're gonna be given your heavenly bodies, right? Judged based on your separated, right? Based on your eternal destination. So we're gonna be able to grow and get past, the worldly lust of the eyes, the flesh, and the pride of life. Cannot bind our hearts to the things, to the earthly things. When our heart, right, is in unison with YaHUaH. So we have what? With us, these three things, right? It's called the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh and the pride of life. The lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. He said, he that tries to save his life shall lose it. He that loses his life shall save it and live through him. Don't be prideful in this life. This life, what is it to you? But a vapor. You know, we better give it to y'all. This is the test for the real life. Both. Because some people have already been. Some people have already been raptured. Some people they went up when he left. When he went, you seen that people are walking on the earth. And then see, they want to, but see, you can't put it in a box, right? And then there's many phases to the pre and post, right? To both, and then during. People are going to be caught up because when you die, well, you're going to be caught up, right? When you're caught up, when you die, you're going to be caught up. Where are you going? Where else are you going? This is at that time it's happening if tribulation's happening. So you may at that point you'll be caught up. There's going to be so it happened when he came already, but I believe that when he's going to call away the wedding party, rapture together the wedding, the bride is going to come at the end. Per se, the last part of the bride, the 11th hour part of the bride. And then so the 11th hour part, and once the bride is full, then the wedding's going to happen, and then he's going to come back with his bride army. But there's many phases to it too. There's there's phases of living it out. And we have the what some would call the millennial reign, the 1,000 years reigns of peace. No, thank you for that. Keep me on point. I don't want to keep saying the words. Somebody let me know. You know, they got those certain words here. But what was I saying in regards to the bridal party? Yeah, and so the wedding can't happen until the bride is fully there, and we know that there's going to be some, because they're told here, we're going to go through all this. We're going to go through it, right? That's actually what we're getting at right now. But the two witnesses that are going to come down, they're also ride on clouds. I'm going to stay on my message because I cover that stuff. Because my mind's on this path right here, and I only got 20 minutes. And I have to go to a part 2. But it says YaHUaH, but I got it on YouTube, so you can go back and look at this. You can access my YouTube link. If you go to my page and you click on it looks like, I guess, the Instagram icon, and it drops down. It'll give you my Instagram or my YouTube page. Click on the YouTube link. It'll take you to my YouTube page. And I have my videos that I've done live recordings on here, and I just posted them on there, so you can go look at that. Ask questions on it, whatever. But the two witnesses here are Enoch, and Yehohanan. Yehohanan was writing about himself a lot of times. And Enoch was the one that was talking with him when he said, I'm one of your fellow brothers. Right? And so here, check this out. During the tribulation period, Yah is going to use glory clouds to transport his two witnesses, right? Or are these two witnesses? They're in the tribulation period, right? During tribulation. Right? They're there. And they're going to minister with great power. Look, and look, it says here, and they heard a great voice, Revelations 11:12. And they heard a great voice from Shamim saying unto them, come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud. In a cloud. And their enemies beheld them. Man, right? That's when man. Yeah, I would say I wouldn't want to be here when that happens. That's when it's really going down. Because after the death of the two witnesses, who tormented the wicked people, right? With the light of the Messiah's truth, the whole world will actually celebrate over their death. There's going to be a huge celebration, like, yeah, we got rid of those 2 people that were persecuting us, right? And killing us, right? Then the spirit, right? The spirit of resurrection life from Yahuwah will enter into them. Because there have to be 2 characters of never, YaHUaHUsHI, the Revelator, has never died. And I've done a teaching on it, and I can prove it. It's a whole teaching on who the 2 witnesses are, who Moses is, who John the Revelator is, how he's Eliyahu. MaShYKh tells us outright, if you shall receive this, hear me. He's Eliyahu. And it's said it many times. Only one time YaHUaHUsHI was messing with him because he was just trying, because he was messing with the Pharisees and Sadducees because he was a high priest's son. Please, he's like, I'm a high priest's son. Like, they knew it too. Why else are you coming to me for answers? That's what he was saying with them. Yeah, it's scriptures for both. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Exactly. See, there's scriptures for both, so that's why you can't. They want to box everything into a package. Exactly. There's gonna be this. There's this, and it's gonna be on the unfolding. And we were like, everything happened at once, man. Y'all's gonna let it happen. Now, we all should not say, those of us that don't die at that point, we're gonna be changed. That's when it's gonna happen. Now, I don't believe it's happening first. I believe it's happening, and that's when everything's gonna be changed in the moment, in the twinkling of an eye. We shall not see death, but shall be changed, right? That's the only ones that aren't going to see death. Those are the only ones that aren't going to see death. Based on the scriptures, that's what I see. The only ones that are, they're going to be changed. Praise Yah, right? Like, wow. But even these 2 were brought up in the cloud. So we see here, that you can't technically read Revelations in chronological order. When you do that, you can read it in a story, but then it's not like that. This was a moving, living thing happening. This part is happening over here while this is happening in top of this. But then it folds over here, but then it seems like it didn't happen yet. Well, it's happening, you just can't see it yet, right? And that's the crazy thing, is that you may not see it happening even though it's unfolding on various levels, coming to its fruition. So, and we got back to who he was, right? Who's this guy on a white cloud, right? Seated like unto the Son of Man, wearing a crown on his head, having a sharp sickle in his hand, right? So he's transported on a white cloud. Remember, the Father committed all judgment to the Son. In John 5:22, he says, for the Father judges no man, but has committed all judgment unto the Son. John 5:22. He commits all judgment to him. That's why he's our mediator. He's our guide. I just would prefer to get right with him instead of trying to smooth them over with words, because the audience is, you think you hide stuff from people or whatnot. There's an audience always watching. Remember, there's these eyes that are sent forth from Yah over the whole earth, and they're watching everything. And then there's the thoughts. We're talking about the flesh, but then there's the thoughts. They're watching everything. The eyes of Yah. But yeah, because we got to think about Mashiach, right? He came down as the Son of Yah, but he came down in humility. And he learned humility before he was exalted. He came down in all humility and tried to make himself of no reputation, which qualified him, to be the supreme judge, to be the one that says, okay, I did this, you could do it, and you believe that I did it, and you believe that through me you can do it, and that's all I asked. And come on, well done, good and faithful servant, right? And you had works to show that you believed, right? Because belief is belief is manifested by your works, right? You say you believe, right? Oh, I believe in Mashiach, and then you could go use his name in vain, don't have nothing to believe, but you don't really believe. You have not even in your own thoughts. There's not actions. You're not a believer. You're just saying you are. It's false. And you reach condemnation on your own head. But let's look in Revelations 1:7, where it talks about how the bride is going to be transported on clouds as well, right? And how he comes on a cloud. Revelations 1:7 says, behold, and we're right here, right? We're going through this a little bit. Behold, he comes with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, amen. Revelations 1:7. So when he returns, he's going to be accompanied at this point, right? There's one point where he's coming back with the bride. He's come back with the bride, which, let's look at Matthew 24:30. It says, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in Shemin, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Revelations 19:14 says, and the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed with fine linen, white and clean. That's how you know who they are, based on how they were arrayed in fine white linen. The bride, the sun glory people, as the resurrected glories. So this army was made up of the bride of Messiah, members of the bride of the Messiah. But we're all going to be used for transportation. If we go back and we look at, he uses cloud and fire to purge things, right? And to catch things away. If we look at the word shadow, I think Manuel brought up the word shadow earlier, and I knew I was going to be covering it, so I kind of was holding it back. And just like Yah says, he's gonna take the clouds and pick us up and hold us above the earth while he purges it, right? In the clouds, in our hands. We got to think about what's happening. Why are we being brought up into the clouds? Why? Why bring us up into the clouds? Why can't you? Because there's a purging going to go on this earth and the heavens. So we're going to be in the clouds, protected, covered, concealed, and moved around. So that's why you have to understand where you're going to be going, how this thing's going to play out. Because you're thinking about you're going to be caught up. Then where? Where are you being caught up to? How? Right? So YaHUaH says in Yeshayahu, Isaiah 51:16, and I have put my words in your mouth, and I have covered you in the shadow of my hand, that I may plant the heavens and lay the foundations of the earth, and say unto Zion, you are my people. Because remember, he uses the cloud as a covering. Clouds are for coverings, not just for transportation, but for coverings. Remember, he covered and veiled the bride and himself in the glory until he unveils it. He uses it for cloud and for covering, for protection. Right? So when Yah's talking about laying the foundations of the earth here, he's not speaking of the present earth or the previous earth, right? Because he's holding us in the shadow of his hand. He's talking about the new earth, right? He's talking about the new earth that he's going to have. We know there's going to be a new earth and new heavens. Look, we're going to hit this. We'll hit the scriptures because we're going to hit it right now, because you have to know that this earth is going to be destroyed. We got to know that the heavens are going to be destroyed. So don't go to heaven. You don't want to go to heaven. I don't want to go to heaven. I want to go to the New Jerusalem. But my other choices would be to the new earth and the new heavens. The renewed heavens, or the renewed earth, as you would want to call it. They call it new, but it's renewed, which makes it new, right? So just as I was saying, it covers the bride and their glory. But this intense glory is going to cause the elements of the earth to melt as well as the heavens. Everything's going to melt away, and all these elements are created things. all of it's going to be melted away. Every eye is going to be able to see. Its powers are going to be pulled back. They're going to be melted with a fervent heat. And that's what we're going to look at, what the scriptures say. Before Yahuwah establishes his what we call millennial reign on the earth, it must be purged and renovated. He's got to renovate our spot, right? He's got to clean it up. How does he do it? By water and fire. Let's look at 2 Peter 3. 2 Peter 3, 10 through 13. Then we're going to go to Micah 4:4. 2 Peter 3, 10 through 13. All right, I got to go. Here we go. But the day of Yahuwah will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with a fervent heat. The earth also, and the works that are therein shall be burned up. Seeing that all these things should be dissolved, they shall be dissolved. What manner of person ought you to be in all holy conversation and holiness, looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of Yahuwah, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with a fervent heat. Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for a new heavens and a new earth, wherein dwells righteousness. So everything's going to be destroyed. All the works of man, all the idols, everything through all the previous existences, all the way up into this one, is coming to a fruition. Nothing's going to be able to survive the reign of, as he said, a fervent heat. Remember, there's going to be stars plummeting to the earth. They're fire. These are fire. We don't see gas balls. I would say they're light. And we know he did say they made them of spirits and made them of fire. Fiery spirits. So let's look here at Micah 4:4. And we know this is talking about the new earth too, right? The new city. Is because in Micah 4:4 it talks about they shall sit every man under his vine and under his fig tree, and none shall make them afraid, for the mouth of Yahuwah Zabiah has spoken. So that's not happening now. This has to be afterwards. So this is when it's talking about. So there's going to be this purged earth redeemed, where every man has a vine and a fig tree, right? We're always a farmer. We're always growing things. Yahuwah is about connecting to this earth. Why is Yahuwah? Oh, he ain't getting rid of this earth. He always wants us to connect to this earth. Well, guess what? He made us from the flesh, technically, that we came from. He made us from the earth. He breathed into us, right? From the earth. There's a reason for that. So we'll be able to, and then those people are going to be able to eat. When the new earth, you're going to be eating from what? If you get, you're going to be able to eat fruit from the fruit produced on the earth, and then trees, or the leaves from the tree of life, right? You maybe get leaves because that's for the healing of the nations, but not everybody's going to be able to eat that fruit. Just maybe the kings. Not everybody. Not everybody. So obviously he's the last Adam, right? Because the first Adam brought everything under a curse. Seeds have to struggle. The earth is cursed for his sake, right? And it has to fight to come to fruition. But during the millennial reign, so to speak, or during this time of us being able to reign with Yah, there's not going to be that limiting, right? The desert is going to grow like it blossom like a rose, as it says in Yeshayahu 35:1. It says the wilderness and the solitary place shall be glad for them, and the desert shall rejoice in the blossom as the rose in Yeshayahu or Isaiah 35:1. So we know this purging is going to happen, as it says in Matthew 24:37-42. And we know how it's going to happen, and the measure of it's going to be. And we know this wasn't when in 70 AD. We know this is when, it says, but as the days of Noah, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage, partying until the day that Noah entered the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Then shall be two in the field. The one shall be taken and the other left. The two women shall be grinding at the mill. The one shall be taken and the other left. Watch therefore, for you know not what hour YaHUaH does come. So it talks obviously here about the scriptures and one being taken, one being left. Well, the prior to YaHUaH's his second coming, right? The sixth seal will be opened. So we're wondering where it's happening, right? So if his second coming happens after the sixth seal, ooh, that gives us something. It tells us something, right? We know it happens after the sixth seal. Let's read here. Revelation 6:12 through 17. This is a huge point to me because you have to have milestones. Otherwise, you'll get lost, because especially with Revelations. Revelation 6:12 through 17 says, and I'm going to have to stop after this. And I beheld, when he opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth. Even as a fig tree casts her old untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind, and the heavens departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and the rocks of the mountains. Remember that movie 2012? Look what they did. Right? In the rocks of the mountains. And said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, hide us from the face of him that sits on the throne, and from the wrath of YaHUaH, of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? Guess what? Because they're going to get with the sickle. Right? Following are the results of the sixth seal being opened, right? A great earthquake takes place. All this happens. Revelation 8:1 says, and when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of a half an hour. There's silence. Silence. What? Silence. In Shamim. Then the seventh trumpet begins. The seventh trumpet begins. And then the day of the wrath of the Lamb and the great time of woe begins. Saying, woe, 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 in Revelations 8:13. And behold, I heard an angel flying through the midst of Shamim, saying with a loud voice, woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices of the trumpets of the three angels, which are yet to sound. Shortly after this tribulation, there's going to be the reaping, right? So there's going to be the tribulation, and there's going to be this reaping, right? And then there's going to be the seven plagues, because right, he's going to reap it, and then those some of them are going to be cast into the winepress, while the bride is made to go and ride and come back triumphant with in glory, and destroying every the mystery of Babylon is going to be destroyed. Because if you go to Yeshayahu, Isaiah 24:19 through 20 says, the earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage. And the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. There's so much that's going to be happening. It's all the evil brings about the tribulation, if that makes sense. It brings about the collapse of the earth during this tribulation. When which is completed when the Mashiach comes, right? That's what we're all looking to. We're all looking for this second coming. We're all looking to be redeemed. But if you go to the first part of YaHUaHUh, Isaiah 24, 2 through 3, right? It describes what's going to happen in the second coming. The verses 19 and 20 that we just read describes the earth's reaction to the purging process that begins at the opening of the sixth seal. The first verse of the chapter tells us how some people will be spared this dreadful and horrible desert devastation. Right? But let's look here. It says YaHUaHUh 24, 2 through 3 says, "And it shall be as with the people, so with the priest. As with the servant, so is his master. And as with the maid, so with her mistress. And with the buyer, so with the seller. As with the lender, so with the borrower. As with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury to him. The land shall be utterly emptied and utterly spoiled, for YaHUaH has spoken this word." So this is when all classes of all ranks of people will be you're gonna be affected the same. You ain't gonna be able to hide. He's gonna empty out all of his creation from the earth. There's nobody gonna be left. Everybody's gonna be gone, good or bad. Nobody's gonna be on this earth. Revelations 1:7 says, "Behold, he comes with clouds, and every eye shall see, and in him, and they also which pierced him. And all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, amen." So the clouds are going to spread about in the air, receiving people to take them to their final, well, at least while the earth is purged, right? If they're still alive. And it's going to be the escape. And because in Isaiah 34:4 says, "All the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down, as the leaf falls off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree." YaHUaHUh 34:4. So all this is going to be dissolved or dwindle, vanish, be consumed away, fade away, pine away. He's going to part the clouds that veils the Father's glory. But when that happens, it's going to show his glory. It's going to show the angels' glory. And all this glory is going to come and with all this power and glory and light, it's going to dissolve everything and purge everything. And then that's when the stars are going to be able to fall, right? And that's when it starts to. The fiery process of purging begins there. It continues through. There's different battles that happens, right? The battle of Idumea, the battle of Harmageddon, the battle of Jehoshaphat, right? And these are pretty intense battles of their own. And so what happens is that it says right here in YaHUaHUh 30:26, "Moreover, the light of the moon shall be as the light of the sun, and the light of the sun shall be sevenfold as the light of 7 days. In the days of YaHUaH bound up the breach of his people and healed the stroke of their wound." See, I actually believe that is speaking of the new heavens and new earth, so to speak. Well, it says that this light, well, the moon's going to be bright. It never says anything about the moon being so bright outside of having full light at night, right? So that means there's going to be no night. If the moon is going to shine like the sun, and the sun's going to shine like 7 times, right? 7 days. Well, then there's no night because the moon at night is going to shine in its own light, so there will be no night. Because remember, there's going to be this angel that falls and opens up the bottomless pit. And this bottomless pit it says in Revelations 21, people are let out and then put back. As it says, the angel came down from heaven having the key of the bottom and a great chain in his hand, right? There's one that opens it and one that closes it and bounds them back up. Get back in there. What are you doing out of there, right? You know, get back in your place. And that's what's going to happen. So we'll continue this talking about these clouds, right? But that's the main point. It is really getting to looking about how he brings us on his clouds. We got through a lot of this. We still haven't touched some of these. But the main point does get back to show that are resurrection bodies, that we're looking for somebody coming on a cloud, and what type of clouds and why these clouds, and that we can't just accept anything that we told to our man. I gotta go. I gotta go pick up my twins, my loves. So I hope you guys enjoyed the live. I hope that was a blessing to you. If you did, do as you feels in your heart. We definitely, I would love to be able to teach and preach more. I do have a full-time job, salary, so that causes a lot of time. But I would love to teach full-time. If you ever in your own heart found it to be like, hey, in that position, because I always want to help others too, and that's part of our ministry, but we do want to push this ministry full-time. If you ever find in your heart, I don't advertise, I think I have a Cash App somewhere, but we do those things. But what we want to do is build the ministry out. We have our book that we're trying to send out. It costs, no matter what, for me or not, it costs to print, even just to send out. I want to send it out to more people. Helping with the ministry helps for us to push that out and get more people the book, so that it covers the printing costs and things. That's really what I'm looking to do. So if you find in your heart you want to, you can reach out to me, and I'll get that information to you if you can message. But let us know, me and my wife. But outside of that, we hope we've been a blessing to you, and I hope Yah blesses you, and hope that you can see a little bit more about what's going on here in Revelations, what's going a little bit more on this resurrection, on this this calling, gathering up, and that there's so much more to it. We haven't even really hit the tip of the iceberg, right, so to speak. So with that said, may Yahuwah keep you and bless you in the name of the Mashiach Yahusha. And thank you guys for joining us. And until next time, remember, we're nobody, not trying to be somebody, just of that one body of Yahusha at MaShYKh. Amen. Shalom.